Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society.
E3!
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 It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellis, joined as always by my co-host Mark Mitchell. Mark, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
I'm doing great too.
We're recording this the morning of Nintendo's E3 presentation.
That's right. While the Treehouse live stream plays in the background, I'm watching footage of Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle.
Mario plus Rabbids.
Plus
we found out
Rabbids.
that's actually how it's pronounced.
Just like whenever there's an X in something, you're supposed to pronounce it cross.
I guess so.
That's just this is the new language, Mark. This is how we talk. So let's we're nuking the form today.
Mhm.
Mark, what have you been playing this week? I don't care. What have I been playing? I don't care.
Nonsense.
Out the window. Weather, is there any? No one knows.
No way to know.
No
We're
way
in
to
our
know.
E3 bunker.
That's right. We just want to talk about Nintendo's presence at E3 and all the various forms that takes. So let's just start.
This was a great This seems like a great conference for Nintendo.
Yeah, agreed.
They've had a strong presence in like a number of conferences.
Yeah,
or a number of the presentations.
Yeah, they were in the Ubisoft conference in the form of Mario plus Rabbids.
And that other like Toys to Life game that they announced, which I think was the first, was the only game announced at this conference that's on Xbox One, PS4, and Switch.
I don't know what this is.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Man, I'm going to have to look up the title. So it's a new Ubisoft game that's coming in like next year, 2018, like late 2018.
Yeah.
And you know with Skylanders how you would buy the various Skylander figures and they would feature in the game? So this looks like it's going to be you buy like ships.
Oh, Starlink. Yeah.
And there's going to be, for the Switch, there's going to be a special Joy-Con grip that you can put the ship in the middle of it, and then the Joy-Cons slide into the side. So it's basically like a regular Joy-Con grip, except the center portion has a place for you to put the ship.
Huh.
So yeah, so it was a bit like, that was a big reveal, and Mario plus Rabbids, and then we got the Skyrim special Zelda content at the Bethesda conference. You got more information about FIFA 2018 at the EA conference.
Yeah, so Nintendo's all over this event. But should we dig into the actual spotlight now?
Sure.
Let's do it. Okay, Spotlight starts off with a little montage of Nintendo focusing on multiplayer experiences, right?
A lot of like local like couch co-op multiplayer experiences.
Right.
Like get your friends together and play these games.
And kind of showed off like the sort of regular stuff that we are expecting to see, like the imminent stuff like ARMS,
which comes out
on Friday.
Yeah, this week.
Comes out this week. Pokken Tournament, which Reggie insists on pronouncing Pokken Tournament. It's fine. And FIFA and Splatoon 2.
And this was where we got the first reveal of Rocket League.
Yeah, so what from that list are you excited about?
So I'm not that pumped for ARMS.
All right,
but
your arms aren't that pumped.
But hopefully when I get my hands on it for real later this week, when I like put some more time into it, it'll be a little bit better. But the reviews have been pretty decent.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reviews have like universally been like acknowledging that there's a lot there and that it's like a fun game. Maybe still need like that it's not perfect, but that it is
And that
a
it's
real
kind
game.
of like light on content,
Mhm.
which reminds me a lot of the reviews for the first Splatoon.
Yeah.
And I think that as the year goes on and they continue supporting ARMS with new characters and new modes and all that kind of stuff, it'll be a very fleshed out package. Rocket League
Yeah.
is super exciting.
That's very exciting. So a little bit later in the presentation, we got a little bit more information when Jeremy Dunham and the other guy from Rocket League were talking about it. It should be out holiday 2017. No indication of what exactly that is, but probably November, December. And cross network play is the big one here.
And that's the second title that was announced this conference, this E3, that has cross network play. The other one being Minecraft.
Right. At the Microsoft conference, they announced that the Microsoft or the Minecraft experience is unified over all platforms.
Except, and this is true for Rocket League as well, the PS4, because Sony is saying no to crossplay.
Sony?
And you honestly, you would think that would be Nintendo's game.
Yeah.
To be like, no, we're going to do our own thing. But again, I feel like we are seeing a different Nintendo with the Switch where they're like, yeah, let's totally.
Yeah. How can this be more fun?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy. You could do crossplay on the PlayStation with Portal 2. Like the multiplayer, you could play you on the PlayStation 3 and someone else on their PC. And I thought, wow, Sony's got this thing all figured out.
And I feel like, am I wrong that for a while, Microsoft was the one saying no to cross-network play for stuff like Destiny?
I thought Microsoft,
has always been into it.
I think Microsoft has always been into it. Microsoft obviously has more of a, they place more of a value on unifying their like Windows 10 platforms with the Xbox. So I think they're already sort of like just in this sort of mode where like the computer experience and the console experience should be, if not identical, that they should be related in some way.
And the other thing that's coming with Rocket League is exclusive Mario and Luigi hats for your cars.
Hats!
Oh, and some exclusive cars that they haven't talked about yet.
Right, but we know about hats.
Well, the way that like the little Mario hat like grew on the cart was really great. But it also just like continues to show that Nintendo is like this past week. It wasn't at E3, but Axiom Verge was announced for that it'll be coming to Switch in addition to other platforms.
Right.
And but it seems clear that Nintendo is fine with these ports of like games, like indie games and stuff from other developers, but they are looking for some sort of extra content.
Yeah, some sort of way to tag it. As
we've seen it with like all the big names that like Cave Story has a special mode.
Ukulele.
We see it here in like Rocket League now. Like that seems to be it's kind of awesome.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's there's got to be a reason to tempt people who are fans of the game back to it on the Switch.
Right, to buy it again.
And I mean, I think that's in addition to, the Switch's like normal like base state killer app is take it wherever you want and play it wherever you want. This was another thing that was mentioned very early in the video that I don't have his name, but the presenter said that the fact that gamers everywhere have accepted the Switch as a way to play console games everywhere. Did you say it gave him like great relief?
Yeah.
Or something?
Which like fair. I mean, basically the future is in a lot of ways. It felt like the future of Nintendo was resting on the Switch.
Right.
So it would give me great relief too, especially if I was like the project lead.
Oh yeah. Yes. Sounds. Yes. I mean, Nintendo's in a good place.
What's interesting is we saw FIFA 18.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't see anything. I mean, there are other games coming, like big games coming this year that we didn't see anything about, like NBA 2K18.
Yeah.
Like wasn't mentioned. things like that. FIFA was shown, but otherwise not spoken of again.
Right. But I mean, that's because EA sort of brought it up during their own press conference. So I think they didn't really need to. The point of that montage was more like, look at all these great multiplayer experiences that were.
That's true,
putting
because
out
they
there.
didn't even really talk about Splatoon 2 very much.
No.
And I am so excited for that game.
Yeah. Is there anything that you've seen in the last week that has gotten you like extra pumped about it?
I think
or?
it's just that I haven't, like, I like Call of Duty type games. Like, I like team shooters.
Yeah.
And I haven't played one for a while. And this one just looks like I had so much fun in the
test fire.
Right. Yeah.
It's hard.
I was gonna say test
punch.
splat. But yeah, test fire. And yeah, man, I'm so excited.
Great. So that kind of closes out our opening burst of optimism, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think we stay optimistic throughout the majority of this thing, right?
So they did I had very low expectations going into this conference. I think they did a good job of lowering the expectation game. Like an hour before the conference started, Bill Trinan tweeted, something like just an hour away until a look at Switch's 2017 or something like that, where it's very much like
here's what's coming imminently.
And the rest of E3's conferences have been, fine, but I think fans obviously like crave those like mind-blowing announcements.
Right.
And this E3 hasn't really been full of them, and Nintendo isn't really known in the past few years of doing anything like that. So I think we all had pretty low expectations.
Right.
And they did talk a lot about stuff that's coming this year, but
also tease some stuff that's further along.
Yeah.
That like
further
people
have
down
been like really asking for. But first,
yes,
Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Okay, so they played a full trailer for Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And the only note that I took here was it looks super Japanese
and not great. And I couldn't tell if it was the stream,
right?
But it kind of looked janky.
It looked, yeah. I mean, I think we'll have to wait and. So the game has not a release date, but a release window of holiday 2017,
which is still a surprise because everybody has been expecting from the moment it was announced.
Right.
People be like, way back in January. Yeah, like that's definitely going to get delayed. And there was a rumor, I think it was from Go Nintendo or something like that, that it had been pushed back a few months and that Mario Odyssey was coming out in November. Both of those turned out to not be true.
Right. Well, and I mean, just because it has a release window on it doesn't mean that it is absolutely going to come out by holiday 2017. Games do get delayed all the time, even when they have a specific date.
That's true, but I feel that's true. It's possible that it will be delayed in the next few months. But at this point, I feel like I don't know that they would have reconfirmed the date.
Yeah, that's a good point. So beyond it looking a little janky, does it seem like the kind of game that you're going to be interested in playing? Did this trailer do anything to convince you that you should be interested or that you shouldn't be interested?
I really like JRPGs, and this was not a great conference in general for JRPGs.
Yeah.
I think this was maybe the only one that was, for the most part shown or announced.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
Definitely at one of the big three's conferences.
Yeah.
And the voice acting kind of rough.
Voice acting, well, and it's so hard when they're like showing you just like snips and like little pieces of all of these things because like it's not you have no context for like what any of it means. So when like one character is like, I mean, I keep thinking of the scene in what's the third Star Wars?
Revenge
of the Sith, yes. Where Obi-Wan Kenobi's like, "You were the chosen one," and like that, you can just like clip that out and like put it in a trailer and like almost any trailer, and it would make sense. And it felt like all of these were just like "you were the chosen one" moments, where it's like I can see how like you think that means something when you like snip it out of context, but like it really means nothing. And that's what I felt like all of those story moments were in this trailer.
But I guess I'm looking forward to seeing how it reviews because I'm totally down for a big open world JRPG,
Yeah,
and especially on the Switch,
right.
because that's a great system to like play any game on.
Right, and especially a great place to take your games that are huge that you need to explore forever and ever and ever.
One thing that the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 coming out in holiday 2017 makes me think of that we were kind of talking about while the conference was going on, is that during the Wii U's lifespan, it just seemed like Nintendo had a really hard time with their like product pipeline.
Yeah.
Where like getting games out the door in a timely fashion. And it seems like whatever I mean, moving to HD development is really hard for any developer.
Sure.
And so it seems like whatever like kinks were in the pipeline have kind of been worked out because their rate of output is incredible.
Yeah, it seems like there's going to be a big game coming out of Nintendo every month through the end of the year, which is nuts. That's a lot to play on a new system. So, do we want to move ahead into some other stuff here?
Yeah.
Okay. So the next announcement, I guess, is just an unnamed Kirby game.
Yeah, we know there's a Kirby game coming in 2018.
Now, I assume that this was a Switch game that they were showing off.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Everything in the in the spotlight was
Right,
Switch.
right.
Yeah.
So the no real release date beyond 2018. But it looks like you can recruit enemies in the game, like charming them, and then they are playing alongside you. Did it look to you like there were other players controlling those
there's
characters?
definitely. Well, it can be. You can see in the trailer it can be both. So it looks like there can be up to 4 Kirby type characters.
Yeah.
And you see on the bottom when you saw everybody's like health bar,
Yeah.
that some of them have like player 1, player 2,
Oh,
and then
some
the
were
other 2 are
computer
like
controlled.
CPU. So it does look like again another up to potentially 4-player couch co-op Kirby game.
Kind of cool to see them like trotting out a Kirby game early in the console's lifespan instead of like right at the end.
And I'm glad that it's. I mean, for me, I'm glad that it's a Kirby game,
Yeah.
and not a Epic Yarn title.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think Epic Yarn was a one-off.
Well, maybe. I mean, we
True.
have this like other Yoshi game that
let's skip ahead to it. Let's skip ahead to this Yoshi game, which is also I mean, I feel like these two probably should have been paired in the presentation too.
Little Big Yoshi.
Little Big Yoshi is what it looks like. It's possibly the yarn aesthetic. It
To
wasn't
me, it
totally
looked
clear.
like the yarn aesthetic.
If nothing else, it has like that kind of crafting aesthetic
like
to
cardboard and
Yeah.
like buttons and that kind of stuff.
it. Yeah, and had simultaneous 2-player that they demonstrated in it, and a kind of world flipping where you can play from either side of like a 2D plane.
Yeah, that seemed to be the big like selling point.
Yeah, but again, this is just another 2018 game. So while there weren't a lot of these coming out next year, and in fact, I think these were the only 2, right? Oh no,
I think those were the only 2 coming out next year, but
Right.
there were a couple that were announced that are just like coming sometime in the future.
right,
And both of those are pretty big news.
right. So let's start with maybe the one that everyone is reacting to the most, Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah.
Just a logo at this point, but currently in development for the Nintendo Switch. People have been asking for a new Prime game since the last one came out on Wii. So what's that, like 10 years ago at this
Yeah,
point?
something like that.
Long time ago. And it's just a logo. Mark, what else do we know about this thing?
So we know that Retro is not developing it.
No Retro.
Retro's not the developer on it.
Which was the developer on the previous 3.
We know that it is a new team
Mhm.
that's being overseen by Tanabe, who was the producer on the previous Metroid Prime games. But it looks like it's not entirely clear, but the rumor is that it's being developed internally in Kyoto with some help from outside developers.
Right. So that's a super cool thing. No, I mean, probably not out in 2018.
So here's the
Who
thing.
knows?
Who knows? Because the spec that they didn't put a 2018 on it
Right.
is maybe a sign that they're not sure
Yeah.
if it's going to be like a late 2018 or maybe a 2019 title. But I wouldn't put it. I guess I don't think it'll necessarily be 2018, but I wouldn't be the most surprised if it's like the holiday 2018 title.
Sure.
And the reason that is when, yeah, they didn't show any like gameplay footage or anything like that, but it doesn't necessarily mean that pre-production just barely began or something.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
this was the first time we saw anything for Xenoblade Chronicles 2 other than a title
Yeah.
And
That's right. And
it's
they're
coming
holding
out
to that release date.
this year.
Right.
We saw Fire Emblem the Fire Emblem for Switch game was
Yeah.
just announced with a title card.
Right. And we
And-
assume that that'll be out in 2018 as well.
I mean, I think they said it'll be out in 2018. We
Right. At
just
the
don't know
time they
when.
did. But
yeah.
I mean, that's since it's such a, if they just throw up a logo and a year, then I think we can take that year with a grain of salt,
Yeah.
plus or minus a year in either direction.
But this is really big news.
Yeah, agree. Well, and I think that this is part of Nintendo giving the hardcore Nintendo fan what they want and what they're asking for, right?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I mean, yes, it is in the fact that it's a Metroid Prime 4, like a sequel that everybody's been asking for.
Yeah,
It'll be interesting to see what an internally developed Metroid Prime game looks like.
sure. Yeah, I mean, if they take the lessons of Metroid Prime, 1, 2, and 3, or if they're like, oh, let's throw some of this Federation Force stuff in here. Yeah, 'cause, I mean, I guess you're right that they haven't been super kind to that brand even when they are putting out games for it.
Will this be the first Nintendo developed first person game?
Okay, interesting. Nintendo developed first person game,
I can't think of another one.
like developed by like R&D1 or whoever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, maybe it might be. They have such a strong focus on like character and being able to see the character and all that nonsense. So I mean, yeah, maybe. But I think this announcement goes hand in hand with the Pokemon announcement, which wasn't so much an announcement as just like a Pokemon exec sitting at his desk saying, hey, don't worry, we're working on a mainline.
I think the term
Pokemon-
he used was core
Yes,
Pokemon RPG title.
that's right, for the Switch. And it assures us that it is over a year away at this point, but that it is coming. So maybe this is a good time to transition to the Pokemon Direct that happened last week that we didn't have a chance to talk about on the show.
Yeah, where they announced Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon
Right.
for the 3DS.
Right. And the Pokken Tournament, I'm sounding like Reggie, Pokken Tournament DX on the Switch, which comes out in September. And
We'll
also,
have some like new fighters and stuff like that.
right, that owl who's...
Rowlet.
No, yeah, but the evolved form of the Rowlet,
right.
whose name it's like Deus.
Yeah, I will never be able to pronounce it.
So all of that, and also the Pokemon Gold and Silver are coming to the 3DS eShop as well. So that is a largely 3DS focused Direct, and I think that made the internet a little bit like, I thought this was going to be Stars. I thought this was going to be
On the Switch.
On the Switch. So I feel like that's what this was addressing.
Yeah, I think this was planned before
Sure.
the Pokemon Direct last week. But look, I mean, we talked about the what we thought was going to happen in the Direct last episode,
Yeah.
and it's not really a surprise that the next Pokemon game is on the 3DS.
No. I mean, it's interesting that it's not really like a full-fledged like sequel necessarily,
And
or
it's not like combining the two games. It's
Yeah,
its
that's
own
right.
like weird like in between thing.
yeah, it's like half sequels to each game. I mean, I think what it does do is, I bought Sun and you bought Moon, right? And there's part of me that's like, yeah, I could see getting Ultra Moon and like playing through the Moon version of the game just in this like different scenario. I guess it's a little bit of a bummer to think about spending another $40 to do that, but I don't know. I mean, it has me thinking about double dipping on it.
Well, here's the thing is I've been talking a lot about how I didn't think that I basically thought the 3DS was being sunsetted,
Oh, no way, man.
and no, this E3 made it very clear that that is not really the case.
Right.
And again, with as well as the Switch is doing, I don't know how that in the future they're going to be greenlighting a ton of new games, but that does not mean that there isn't big things coming for the 3DS.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, there are other announcements in here later that we'll get to, but like, it seems like there's a ton of life left in this thing.
I think we're both thinking of getting the new 2DS
Yeah.
XLs,
I think so.
which, not coincidentally, are the same colors as the logos for Ultra Moon and Ultra Sun.
Right. That orange one looks really cool.
We should have seen it coming.
We should have seen it coming. All right, Mark, let's take a quick break. Mark, we had to get up sort of early this morning, right?
Oh man, way earlier than I usually do.
And I apologize for that. I don't set Nintendo's E3 schedule. But let me tell you what was really nice about waking up this morning. Putting on some Mack Weldon underpants.
Do you know what? We didn't plan this, but I also put on some Mack Weldon underpants.
Did you really? I am honest to God wearing mine right now.
Me as well.
What color are yours?
Orange.
So are mine.
Oh, I think they're like persimmon.
I think that's probably right. Well, Mark and I are wearing matching underpants, and you can too if you go to MackWeldon.com, enter promo code Nintendo, and get 20% off your order. They're great underwear.
Super comfortable.
Super comfortable. Probably the most comfortable underwear I own.
I also have socks and a hoodie, and the hoodie is everywhere. Like, I wear it everywhere. The hoodie is not everywhere. The hoodie is in one place at a time.
Mark did send me a text in a panic saying, "Oh my God, did I leave my hoodie there?" And then seconds later was like, "Oh, never mind. I have it with me at all times.
Yeah.
There's no way I lost it."
It was a huge relief. I love that hoodie.
So we love our McWeldon stuff, and you would too if you would just go to their website, McWeldon.com, and enter promo code Nintendo, 20% off. And then they know that we sent you there. All right, so back into talking about the stuff in the spotlight. Kind of coincidental. The next up was Fire Emblem Warriors, which we're watching a little bit of streaming from the Treehouse right now. It's a Dynasty Warriors style game. Looks kind of cool in that it's pulling in characters from a lot of different Fire Emblem games. I guess similar to Heroes in that regard, but I mean, I don't know. This will be one of these games. Right?
Yeah, I keep forgetting it's also coming to the 3DS.
Yeah.
But they're showing it on Switch. I think they're called Muso.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think that's
games just they don't really do a lot for me.
Yeah.
I think they're fun to pick up and like play with friends for a few minutes, but I've never really like worked my way through one.
Yeah. I mean, as soon as I hit, because I've played a couple of these games just like a little bit, and anytime I get to a challenging map, I'm like, well, okay, I'm done. Like, I just want to beat guys up and watch things fly around, and that's all I need.
And we still don't have a firm release date for this, right? It's still fall 2017.
It is still fall 2017, but fall 2017 is quickly enough coming.
Yeah, it's pretty
close.
stacked.
It's close enough that like I don't think it's gonna get pushed back at all.
I don't think so either. I guess if you're looking at the Switch's lineup for the fall, it could be the November title.
Yeah,
like November or December,
Mhm.
kind of. Well, I guess depending on where Xenoblade Chronicles 2 ends up.
Sure, and I mean that's even kind of late for what we consider fall. So who knows? This there may be a couple months with more than
2
one
games.
Yeah, what? 2 games. Next up on the list here, we've got some information about the Breath of the Wild, the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild DLC. So the first DLC pack we got dated
June 30th, so coming out pretty soon.
Yeah, just the end of the month, I guess. And it is called the
Master Trials.
The Master Trial. Well, the Master Trials is one of the modes in it, but like they're just calling it like the Master Pack or something like that.
Oh, okay.
So it's basically all the content that we've known about for a while. We got a look at the master mode, or the trial of the sword, which it looks like a sort of overblown Eventide island, basically where you get stripped of all your equipment and have to take on a bunch of enemies with just whatever you can pick up. Looks pretty cool. I'm excited to get to play through all of that. Was there anything in there in the master pack that you were responding to, Mark?
I really am just the map. Like heroes track?
The way of the hero.
Way of the hero, where it like tracks where you have been.
Mm-hmm.
That is very exciting to me. I think that's really fun because even though I have found all of the shrines, I am sure there are still areas that I have not explored.
Right, and just weird little things in that game. I spent a lot of time playing this weekend. I am up to like 96 shrines right now. I can't believe you found them all. It's so much.
I'm really looking forward to the Tingle armor as well.
Oh yes, that Tingle armor. Also, the Majora's Mask. I want to put that on. I want to put it all on. I want all the armor.
But this is also the first time that we got any information about the pack coming in the fall or winter holiday. Maybe they call it holiday.
Maybe they called it holiday.
It's called the Champions Ballad.
Right. So it gets introduced by what is his name?
Roto?
The bird who sings the songs.
Oh, what is his name?
It's not Roto.
No, because
Rudo is the race of bird people. Yeah. His name. Oh no, this is bad. Well, whatever his name is. He sings a ballad of the champions, and we get like a nice little montage of Mipha and Daruk and Urbosa and Revali. Yes, got them all. And also Zelda. So I'm imagination aflutter at the moment.
I'm thinking it's a prequel.
No.
Yeah, because they said it's new. The main focus of this one is going to be new story content. I think it only makes sense to me that it takes place before the main game.
Right.
And that the 4 champions, maybe all 5, including Zelda, will be playable. And that you do not play as Link. That is my guess.
So that would be nuts. I think I would be so excited about that.
I think that's what it's going to be.
Well, so in addition to this sort of tease about the what the pack is going to be, they also showed off the 4 champion amiibo. And it's just for those 4 main champions. They look great. I want them.
All the amiibo they showed.
Yeah,
awesome.
All the amiibo look awesome, and there's still there's a GameStop listing of 12 new amiibo that need to be announced, and as of the time of this recording, I don't think we've seen all of them yet. I think we've just seen 5, 9. We've seen 11, so there's still one. There's still one out there. Yeah. So these 4 amiibo look great. No word on what their functionality is going to be in the game or elsewhere, but yeah, I think this is something that people have been asking for since Breath of the Wild came out. Like, hey, it's cool to have like 8 different Link amiibos, but I want Mipha. I want Urbosa. Next up in the presentation was the Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle.
And this had been blown out in the Ubisoft conference.
That's right.
Including like an appearance by Miyamoto and Bill Trinen, although he didn't get to hold a gun.
Oh, Trinen.
Or an arm cannon.
As the case
may be, yeah. But it, of course, had a moment in the spotlight here. And it looks like visually so appealing.
Yeah, it looks very much like a Mario game, but I think the Ubisoft people are maybe leaning into the more like stylized elements of Mario.
It's very cartoony.
Yeah, for sure. Which is in stark contrast to Mario Odyssey, which we'll see a little bit later in the presentation. But yeah, it's more in line with what like I want and expect of Mario. So I'm stoked about this game. I think it's gonna be good.
So I don't really know if the actual gameplay style
Mm-hmm.
is. I don't like. People keep calling it like XCOM style, which to me is not necessarily a turn on because I'm just not very good at those types of games.
Sure.
I don't really have the patience for like being super strategic. But I really want to check this out because it looks like so much fun.
Yeah, it looks cute and fun and funny.
And like so stupid.
So stupid.
But like in the way that I like the best Nintendo games where
Mhm.
they're just going for maximum fun.
Right.
They're not worried about like how it fits into the canon or like being cool.
Yeah, or like what people are going to think about it, right? And that was one of the way the video opened was with Reggie coming on, and I mean it was like some kind of highfalutin nonsense.
I don't even know. It was complete nonsense. He's like fun versus battle.
Right.
Like I don't know what that means.
But what was at the heart of it was just that like Nintendo is prioritizing having fun and challenging yourself, and that like I don't know, that's so different from like all the other publishers and the other press conferences being like so focused on like either cool or like violent stuff. And that Nintendo's like, no, we're just having fun and presenting challenges.
Yeah, there was a really funny tweet when E3 started and I can't remember the person's name, but he's like the lead writer on the new Bill Nye
Okay, sure.
TV show, and it's basically like every E3 is like Microsoft is like here are games that are awesome, you know,
Games for men.
games for men, and then Sony's like games can be art, gasp, and then Nintendo's like here's a duck RPG,
Right.
and that's basically what it is. That's genuinely what each conference turned out to be.
Right. That that everyone's like making their case for like why their games are important or like awesome.
Or like why you should buy them. And the one that appeals to me most year after year is Nintendo's sense of like, here's a dumb thing that's fun.
Right. Let's have fun. Here are cartoons.
Yeah.
We all love it. I think that is a perfect segue into Super Mario Odyssey.
This game.
This
Oh, the one thing I do want to say is
Yes.
that Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle comes out in August 29th.
yes.
So not that far away.
Well, and so let's start with Mario Odyssey, also with its release date, which we got
October 27th.
October 27th, way earlier than we thought.
Yeah, I thought it was a holiday title for sure.
Yeah, that it was.
But I
going to-
guess it is technically like the end of October that like puts it in a good position for
Right.
November for like holiday shopping.
right, for sure. But it's it's so this is where we start to get a real solid look at the calendar for the Switch for this year, right? That June we've got ARMS, July is going to be Splatoon, August is Rabbids,
Kingdom Battle.
September is Pokken, and then October is Mario Odyssey. And Fire Emblem is in there somewhere.
Right, and on the Treehouse stream, they just showed that Fire Emblem Warriors is planned for autumn 2017. So I'm guessing it's going to be a September title as well.
Yeah. So I mean, there's just a lot to come through here, and then we mentioned Rocket League as well, probably coming out in November,
And hopefully,
holiday.
and I keep saying this, but like Stardew Valley coming out sometime, you know?
right? Also,
the next
Xenoblade
few
Chronicles
months.
is going to be holiday 2017. There's so much coming imminently, just in the next couple months. It's cool and exciting to see all of that kind of taking shape.
I think if you want, like, it's going to be so hard to get a Switch this year.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think these announcements will make it harder. Just a lot of cool games.
Yeah, and let's talk about Odyssey because this game looks so much fun.
Right. So
The trailer we see is the first time. What is his name? Hattie?
Cappy.
Cappy.
Mm-hmm.
The first time. So
Hattie, honestly.
a new mechanic where Mario tosses Cappy
Mhm.
and
Cappy, his hat.
Cappy, which is his red hat
Mhm.
with googly eyes, whose real form is a white top hat
With googly eyes.
with googly eyes. But it seems to have taken hold of Mario's cap, and so Mario throws Cappy at an enemy, and he can like
become that
become
enemy.
the enemy, like Bullet Bills, Goombas, just other people in New Donk City.
Also, seemingly objects.
Objects and he can become like an electricity, so he can go through wires.
Yeah. So it seems like this game is just
A T-Rex. The trailer opens with a dinosaur, and then Mario's cap and Cappy appearing on the top.
Right.
And what?
I love that this game is. I know I was just saying that like Ubisoft's leaning into like the cartoony aspects of Mario, which is something that I like, but I think it's so funny the way that they're mixing that Mario aesthetic with a much more real world aesthetic
in some
Odyssey.
in some places.
In some
in
places,
like New Donk City specifically, which seems to be based on Donkey Kong in general.
Yes.
Because you have like Mayor Penelope,
Pauline,
mm-hmm. and
who is the woman that you're rescuing in the original Donkey Kong arcade game.
Yeah, and as we've seen from like the trailers, there's like Dixie Street and things like it all
references to Diddy, and it's a Donkey
and like
Kong
scaffolding
world.
And all that kind of stuff. But then the second world they showed us was the kind of like Day of the Dead, like cold desert type place.
Yeah. So it's also appealing and so different from itself, right? That like it's going back and forth between this more realistic art style and something that's not even just cartoony, but like stylized in a specific way. Like that Mexican stuff is it doesn't look like normal Mario, right? It has its own aesthetic. And I think it's cool that like in Mario's journeys between worlds or kingdoms, I guess they're calling them, that like the way they look, the rules about how it looks changes from world to world.
Well, and this game has made a lot of like structural changes.
Yeah.
There are two kinds of coins. There's the gold coins that are familiar to Mario, but there are no lives. There's no extra lives. You just like are debited 10 coins when you die. And so the whole game seems to be much more exploration based.
Yes.
So in previous 3D Marios, you would start a level and you would have one specific like course or like goal that you're trying to accomplish. And then you would get that shine, or you would get
the star
or whatever, and that would be the end, and it would kick you back to the like lobby, like overworld, and then you would choose another course to take on.
Right.
And this seems to be much more like kingdom, like it's much more exploration based. So you'll be like, it looks like you'll be exploring the world. There will be one of those Bowser flags,
right? And like a checkpoint looking flag.
And you when you activate that, it gives you kind of like a goal that you're trying to achieve. But there doesn't really seem to be like much of a penalty for death.
Right. Well, and that's something that I mean, if you listen to our conversation about Donkey Kong Country 2, one of the things that I was just like, I can't believe that this game has lives, that like you're going to be dying so much. What's even the point of like giving you a finite number of these things? And it seems like this game is addressing that like you're encouraged to explore and fail and just be kicked back out and do it again.
Right. And even like once you get the moon, that's what you're collecting, because that's what powers Odyssey, which is the name of your big cap ship.
Yep. Everything is tied together.
Which I like, because in previous games we've had shines, which are like suns. We've had lots of stars,
right?
And now you're collecting moons. It just makes sense,
right? And so next it'll be clovers and horseshoes, and we'll have all the Lucky Charms eventually.
But after you get a moon, it doesn't like kick you out to a lobby or anything. You just continue exploring the world,
right?
Which is like quest or goal oriented.
Well, and I think that makes it feel less like kind of course based. Like a lot of, especially in 3D World and 3D Land, that those games feel like you're on a specific course. You're going from point A to point B, and that's not like, I don't think there is a point B in this. There are just points of interest.
And I mean, I would say that's true of like Sunshine and Galaxy and everything, because even when you are in those, you get put in those levels, they aren't really just like there for exploration. Like there's not really much to explore. They are very course focused, even though it's in a 3D environment.
Right. That there's a path that it wants you to take, and this seems like the opposite of that. That there are paths to various goals, but also it's just like a world.
And I mentioned it kind of reminded me of Breath of the Wild in that way.
Yeah.
And I mentioned that there were the traditional gold coins, but each kingdom seems to have its own currency as well, like
of like
purple,
additional
like
coins,
a purple type coin that appear to be different depending in like shape, depending on which kingdom you're in.
Right, and that's something that they went into a little bit more in the Treehouse live stream immediately after that. It's sort of a way to give each of the kingdoms their own like cultural identity. That when you visit a new kingdom, just like visiting a new country, there's a new currency, and that's just like one more way to engage with it. But currency is actually what it is, that you collect these coins, and they're not just like Mario coins. They are also, you use them to buy stuff. And in the Treehouse live stream, we saw them purchase clothes for Mario. They bought him a little sombrero and a poncho.
Well, and he had to do that in order to like get into a club.
Yeah.
So that way he could play some music.
Right.
To earn a moon.
Right. It's so everything about that is adorable.
But also like totally different from what we've seen in Mario games before, where it's like you're completing a quest in an RPG.
Yeah.
Less than like doing an obstacle course.
Right.
We have not even talked about the 2D elements.
The 2D elements are so cool. So there are portions of this game where you can like enter a wall via a pipe or something. And then Mario is sort of like plastered, like 8-bit Mario is plastered onto the wall, and it becomes like original Super Mario Brothers style 2D platforming.
It kind of reminds me of A Link Between Worlds, when you would go into like the cracks and then you would traverse. Although this is actual like platforming, not just a way to get between worlds.
Right. And so it's a way of maybe giving a little bit more of that, what we do like about course-based Mario games within the context of that greater world. And it's super cool to just see both Mario and the enemies like transition between the 2D and 3D planes and just like pop into 3D. I don't know. There's so much in this game already that looks awesome,
including the evil bunny wedding planners.
Okay, now slow down. This is the RPG about the cartoon duck right here. The like bosses in this game, the mini bosses, they're called Broodals, Broodals. Oh, we're getting a look at some more amiibo right now for Fire Emblem Warriors. It looks like there's a Chrom one and a character I don't recognize. But that's why we've got the Treehouse live stream just going on in the background. So yeah, some more Fire Emblem amiibos. Oh, let's get more Fire Emblem. The Broodals, sorry. So yeah, they are evil wedding planners who are planning Bowser's wedding. And you fight them a couple times throughout the course of the game. There are 4 of them. They all have different personalities. This is like kind of classic Nintendo, right? Of here are some new goofy characters that have personality, right?
But I am really adoring that Bowser kidnapped Princess Peach and is going to marry her. So we have an excuse for these fun new costumes, including Bowser in a tuxedo.
Right, a white tuxedo.
A white tuxedo.
Mm-hmm.
So here's my theory about, and all the, what are they called?
Broodals.
Mm-hmm. All, they are all dressed in, or like, they have a similar like wedding, like white aesthetic as well.
And they are white rabbits as well, yeah.
So here's my theory about Cappy.
Ooh.
Is that he is like somehow involved with the Broodals and because he's a white top hat,
right?
But he escapes to help Mario
because he believes in true love.
Yes,
and he is a benevolent wedding planner, whereas they are evil wedding planners.
So that's my theory about where Cappy comes from. But oh my gosh, the Broodals are again so like evil wedding planners. Again, so stupid.
So
but
dumb.
I love it so much.
I mean, evil. Are they evil and they plan weddings, or do they exclusively plan
Evil weddings? I think both.
I love that. They are evil and they only plan evil weddings. Love it. And it's such a cool way for like Nintendo to sort of broaden the it's so dumb to say like Mario mythology, but like the fact that they're not relying on Koopa Kids or whatever, it's a constant like invention.
Well, and they talked about that in Treehouse Live about doing something new with Mario, but also making it familiar.
Yeah, which I think is part of the like ultra realistic style in New Donk City, and even the Mexican stuff. Like it's all everything feels very like new and vital while still being familiar.
Now, of course, we talked about how much I love Bowser in his wedding garb,
right?
His white tuxedo and white top hat,
right?
So of course there are new amiibos.
Of course there are new amiibo giving you just that. So there were 3 announced in the spotlight itself, and then like another 2 are appearing just elsewhere, like on Twitter. There's a
wedding Mario,
mm-hmm.
wedding Peach, and wedding Bowser.
Right, so they're all wearing their white wedding clothes.
And then they also showed it's also like a Koopa Troopa and a Goomba, and they're just normal. They don't have top hats, which seems like a missed opportunity.
Look, I think from this point on they should release 2 versions of every amiibo, one with a top hat and one without a top hat. I'll buy both. So these we know that they're going to unlock additional costumes and maybe something else.
Yeah, I think they were kind of vague about what other content. Also, this is a huge, again, just missed opportunity for there to be a wedding Wario.
Gotta have a wedding Wario, man.
You know, I'm not much of a amiibo person outside of the ones that Patrick graciously bought me.
Right,
which is Waluigi
and Wario. Right.
But I think I want the Bowser wedding costume as well.
He looks so good. Again, all like 7 of these main amiibo that we've seen look great, right?
Yeah, they're really cool.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously we'll get more information about what they do in the game, and if there's any other kind of amiibo functionality. Oh yeah, I get that they did tease that other amiibo would also trigger something in this game.
So that was the end of Nintendo's spotlight,
mm-hmm. And kind of the first chunk of their Treehouse Live stream.
Yeah, and man, I had really low expectations,
mm-hmm.
and I was kind of thinking it would like the spotlight would mostly focus on Mario Odyssey. Basically, it would focus on titles we already knew about, and there was some of that, but I guess like the Rocket League thing wrapped up, but we already talked about that. But I thought they did a really good job of balancing, like giving us new information about titles that we already knew about,
right, and stuff coming out this year.
Yeah, but like even announcements of stuff coming out this year that we didn't know about.
Sure.
Plus some teases for things that are coming in 2018 and beyond. And in like a really like packed amount of time. Man, I was really impressed with it.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I think there's just so much to look forward to here, for all kinds of Nintendo fans, right? Like if you're one of those Pokemon only people, you've got stuff coming up. You've got a promise of stuff in the future. If you're big into Fire Emblem, like it doesn't matter what part of the Nintendo like megaverse you're excited about. There's something coming out, if not this year, then imminently. So okay, that kind of wraps up the spotlight.
But we were promised that there would be some announcements in the first hour of Treehouse Live.
Right.
And boy, were there.
Well, yeah. I kind of just one big one, right? So we saw the reveal of Metroid Samus Returns on the 3DS. So is it a bummer that it's only available on the 3DS?
No, I think
sort of wish it was on Switch.
I guess, but that's only because I wish every game was on Switch.
Right. I mean, to some extent, I sort of feel like this is the super solid assertion that the 3DS is not going anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, Reggie talked about in the lead up to the reveal of Metroid what is it? Return of Samus?
Samus Returns.
Samus Returns.
Right. And we'll get to what that is in just a second.
Well, into the lead up, he was just talking about how the 3DS was the only video game platform that grew in sales last year compared to the previous year.
Right.
So
that's from 2015 to 2016.
Yeah, so the 3DS is kind of like booming right now, and they have the new 2DS XLs coming out, which I now think I'm going to buy one.
Right, me too. Well, and what did he say? 66 million?
Yeah.
3DS in the wild at the moment?
I mean, that's solid.
I don't think it's not going anywhere.
Especially since it's growing. It's not like it's in the West, you know? And so it has a great library of games. They're releasing new great games. So yeah, I do think the 3DS is going to be around for quite some time.
And we're all going to be playing Metroid on it. So let's talk about this game. Metroid Samus Returns. They started with a trailer, which Reggie would not stop talking about. I was doing something on my computer, and Mark was like, stop talking.
Well, he was just talking about nothing.
Yeah, he was
talking
about
finally
nothing.
They got around to being like, oh, also here's this like trailer for this game that is coming out this year. This holiday.
So started with like, sort of star clusters, nebula clouds, what have you. Became clear pretty quickly that it was a Metroid game, a 2D Metroid game, and I don't know. When did I start screaming it's a remake of Metroid 2?
When there was like an enemy, that I was like, that you had a reaction to, and I was like, what is
that?
Yeah,
I think it was one of the evolutions of a Metroid. So this is a remake, a reimagining, they're calling it, of Metroid 2, which was subtitled The Return of Samus,
and is now called Samus Return.
That's right.
So Metroid 2 was a game that was on the Game Boy.
Yes, exclusively.
It was the sequel to the original Metroid on NES.
Right. And is also when the game or the series establishes some of its more, I don't know. I feel like that's where it gets. That's where it becomes like a preamble to Super Metroid, right? Like where you start to see some of those like kind of backtracking elements and some of the more exploration-based stuff that is less obvious in the original game.
Now, there's a fan remake of this game that came out earlier this year, but was quickly...
Oh, yeah, Nintendo shut down like the day that they...
Which now makes even more sense than it did before.
Yeah, totally.
They were working on their own.
They were working on their own. And so, okay, let's talk a little bit about what it means that it is a reimagining.
Yeah, it feels to me, and this is going to sound terrible, but it looks, and in like the new like melee mechanic and some of the takedowns and animations, it looks very much inspired by Other M.
Yeah. Also graphically, right?
Yes.
It is not a pixel art game. It is all there are full 3D models for all the characters and everything here. So it does in that way look a lot like Metroid Other M, and is probably graphically about on par with a Wii game. But like, what do you want on a 3DS? Here's the thing: I don't think it bothers me at all.
No, me either.
Like that it would look like Other M. Because it seems like it still has all of those exploration, or like all of its value is in the exploration and about gaining new abilities and using those to explore the space.
So it's being overseen by Sakamoto, and
but developed by Mercury Steam.
Right.
And Mercury Steam did a lot of those Castlevania games that sort of like reinvigorated the franchise.
Yeah.
Back in like the DS days, is that right?
So I mean, it was on
GBA,
like PS3,
yeah,
Xbox 360. But they also made a 2D Castlevania for I think the DS that I don't think was very good.
Oh well, well okay. But I don't know, the game looks super cool. I'm really excited to get my hands on this thing.
So it's interesting. Part of the rumor of the Metroid Prime game that's in development is that the team based in Kyoto is getting is assisted by a European developer,
which could that be Mercury Steam?
So originally, the rumor from months ago was that Climax Studios was working on it,
Okay.
but it could be Mercury Steam. So my initial thought is that would make sense because they would kind of cut their teeth on. Sorry, we were distracted by the Treehouse Live.
Right. They're doing Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and
It looks way better
It looks way better in
than
action,
it did
yeah.
than the trailer did. But yeah, like maybe Mercury Steam is cutting their teeth on a remake, which would be a good way to kind of prime them for development of their own Metroid game. But I'm now thinking that's maybe not the case, only because overseen by totally different people. Tanabe
Yeah.
versus Sakamoto. 2D Metroid is not really anything like a 3D Metroid at this point.
right. Yeah, well, and I like, so first of all, this game is supposedly coming out this year,
Yeah.
2017. And I think it would be a miracle if we saw. I don't think we'll see Prime 4 in 2018. I think it'll be a 2019 game, possibly early 2019, and maybe holiday 18. So like they're on different release schedules for sure, but I like, Nintendo's done this before where it's like, here's a 3D Metroid and a 2D Metroid, that like they recognize that these are different franchises really. And like Fusion and Prime 1 came out on the same day, and had like some connection between the two games. So yeah, I like that it's not only an acknowledgement of one Metroid series, but kind of both of them.
It's also just kind of remarkable that Nintendo's given the people what they want.
Yeah. What is this? What is this giving the people
Especially
what they
because
want?
Metroid does not sell well in general.
Right. I do think there has been enough time that people are hungry for a new Metroid, and especially with that 66 million install base, like people are going to buy Metroid Samus Returns.
I think in the West it'll do better than it does in Japan, but I
Sure.
think that'll also be true of Metroid Prime.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I do think there are enough people who really love Metroid Prime, and it'll be on the Switch, which is a very good selling system.
Right.
That
And which will need games like that too.
Mhm.
Really. I mean, we were saying that there are a lot of games on Switch and that there's a lot of variety, but like that, we were saying, Microsoft has this like, oh, games are awesome. And like, I don't know that there are any of those like games are awesome kind of games on Switch, and Prime sort of scratches that itch.
So if
Switch itch.
if we're Switch it, Riot.
Riot.
If we're settling the score from our E3 predictions,
Oh yeah.
I've got to say that our $1 million bet,
Right.
our
Mhm.
copyrighted $1 million bet,
Right.
So don't take that.
Right.
Trademark.
Only we can do $1 million bets.
We did end up seeing a Metroid title,
Right.
and we did not see Retro's title. So I kind of nailed it.
Yeah. I don't remember it. Oh, because I said the reverse.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I may owe you $1 million, but I predicted for the most part the Pokemon Direct.
You did. Unfortunately, that was not part of the $1 million bet.
I see how it is. There were other parts of the bet too, though, that
that I already forgot.
as did I.
Yeah.
So we'll go back and we'll figure out who owes who $1 million on that. Anything? Oh, Amiibo.
Oh yeah.
So Metroid Samus Returns is getting 2 Amiibo to go with it. One being Samus in her Metroid 2 pose, where she's like kind of crouched down with the arm cannon,
And it
like,
looks
up.
so good.
It looks sweet.
Like these later generation Amiibos, like the detailing looks much better than like the early Samus one.
Really good. And I think also anytime there are Amiibo that aren't holding swords, whenever they hold swords, the swords get kind of bendy and whatever. Everything looks very solid and like just cool.
Does
right
it
now.
also look bigger? Like the actual
Yes.
like Samus herself on the base looks
Samus
like she
herself
takes up
looks
more
bigger.
of the base.
For
Like-
sure.
Like it looks bigger scale.
Well, and the same is also true of the other Amiibo, which is a Metroid, like a little Metroid breaking out of its little like glass pod thing that it's being transported in. Presumably, it's being transported. And the Metroid itself is squishy.
Love it.
Love it. You can poke it, and it'll just like the I just love the little things are so cool to me. Like how the Boo amiibo glows in the dark and how this one is squishy. I love it. It makes me very happy.
Just some. So yeah, that was pretty much Nintendo's E3, and it was really good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised just like how excited we are.
Yeah, me too.
I know we're big dumb Nintendo fanboys, and we just want to play everything on the Switch. But I mean, I think this was a great, not conference, I guess, but a great presentation. And
just like a great presence for Nintendo.
Mhm.
Oh, because we didn't even mention, or maybe we did, the like Zelda content coming to Skyrim. That's another title that's coming to the Switch that it's not first party, but we even neglected.
Right,
Like that's a bit. I think it's still just like fall / holiday
of 2017.
Yeah.
So that's another big title coming out.
People love Skyrim.
Yeah.
So even though it's coming really late, and it looks like it's not going to be like the remastered edition,
Mhm.
I think there's potential for it to still do really well because it seems like it's becoming like a evergreen title.
Did you see there's motion controls available in that?
I did, yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about motion controls and like the story that they're telling with motion controls throughout E3.
Oh, also Ubisoft announced the motion controls made me think Ubisoft announced Just Dance 2018 for the Switch, the Wii U, and the Wii.
No.
Yeah. We will be dead before Ubisoft stops releasing Just Dance for the Wii.
So motion controls. I feel like they keep coming up. So Skyrim is motion control, but not exclusively, right? Like
it's an option.
It's an option, and I think that's kind of the story about it going forward for like all of these games.
Absolutely.
Because when they were demoing Mario Odyssey, you could see like the on-screen prompts saying like, you know, you can shake to move Mario along the electrical wire or just use the thumbstick. And that seemed to be the same thing with Skyrim, where it's like if you want to move your left hand to be the shield and your right arm to be your sword, you can, but also you don't have to.
And it makes sense the way that they're positioning the Switch where excuse me, the Pro controller is just as, you know, their marketing is just as viable for any game.
Yeah.
And there is some like motion capabilities but it's more just like a gyroscope.
Yeah.
You know, for like tilting, not so much for like doing a sword and shield.
Right. Not like gesture based stuff.
The one thing that we don't really see much use of, which no surprise, is like the IR reader.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm not really, I mean, outside of knowing if you're throwing rock, paper, or scissors, I don't know what that thing can really do. But yeah, so it's interesting that like they're keeping that the motion control stuff, like they're still mentioning it, and it's still like part of the hardware and part of the games, but like in a very, hey, we know you probably don't like this kind of way.
But if you do, it's there.
Yeah, but if you do like it, it's there for you.
And that feels right to me.
Yeah, that feels right to me too. Should we take a second to talk about what we didn't see? Or haven't, as of the time of this recording, seen yet?
Yeah, I feel like at this point they're probably not going to drop any other like major announcements.
Right.
Although I've got to say, really watching this Xenoblade Chronicles 2 in action looks so much better than the trailer they showed.
It does. I'm a little bit bothered by how much information is on the screen.
You mean the UI
the
basically
UI
takes up?
It's insane.
Yeah.
I don't know how you're going to play this on the handheld. Like,
oh, you're not going to. Oh! I see. You mean in handheld mode?
Yes.
Yeah, on the Switch.
Yeah. When it seems like a must dock game.
Yeah, in battle, it looks like there's a lot of information on the screen.
Like literally every corner is taken up with like a different set of piece of information.
I feel like the big. I just can't believe we didn't see anything from Retro.
It's amazing there's nothing from Retro.
It's been so many years since Tropical Freeze came out.
Yeah, it's true. Well, and I think we didn't get any new information about Wii U ports.
Yeah, that's true.
Outside of
Oh yeah,
Pokken,
Smash
which we're learning
Brothers.
about. No Smash, no Mario Maker, no Donkey Kong games. Which all seemed like also nothing about Pikmin, be it a port or a new Pikmin game. So I think, and this is what we have been saying is that like Nintendo doesn't need E3 for their announcements. Announcements can come out anytime. And I mean, I think really that stuff is just going to come later, right? Like
Yeah.
the 2018 is when I think we can continue to see stuff like that. And maybe the time for Wii U ports is going away, right? Like maybe there will just be a new Mario Maker, a new Smash Brothers.
I don't know. I still think that we will see a Smash Brothers Deluxe
Yeah.
next year, but I think you're right. I think they did a really good job of like the Switch this year of Switch is stacked.
Yeah.
And they did a good job of teasing announcements for the future for like 2018. Like already 2018 is looking like another like stacked year.
Right.
And that's just with the stuff that we already know has been announced. So, yeah, they don't there will be more reveals for 2018 and like 2019 down the line, but I don't know that they needed to do all of that right now.
Yeah, for sure.
And the stuff that they did, I thought they did a good job of balancing. Here's everything that's coming now, and then also a few teases for the future, to get you excited for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would be willing to bet that even if there's nothing else announced this morning on the Treehouse live stream, that there will be other announcements that sneak into the next 2 days. It's just the way Nintendo does it. Nothing is sacred for these guys. Stuff just rolls out all the time.
And I think kind of like the general feeling overall that I've gotten off the internet is that this has kind of been like a disappointing E3.
Mm-hmm.
But I think more and more companies are taking the Nintendo approach, for better or for worse, where it's just like there's no real point to announcing games that are years away. And none of these companies need E3.
That's right.
Like E3 is kind of, as we know it in the past, is kind of dying in the same way that like Macworld died.
Sure.
It's because companies can talk directly to consumers at any time. They don't need the press attention that E3 brings.
Right. And even someone like Sony has their own conference.
Yeah.
That like their conference and convention, right? A whole weekend of the what is it called, PlayStation Experience, or where they can get into like the nitty gritty and really make announcements that like the hardcore PlayStation fan will care about.
Yeah,
and that's what Nintendo Direct is, or Spotlight, or whatever. So
yeah, like the reason we see E3 being opened back up to the public,
right,
is because what E3 is like changing. I mean, the Switch was announced and launched incredibly successfully without ever needing an E3.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And I think that tells you, and like the Xbox One X, like Microsoft's Pro Xbox was announced at E3 to kind of tepid reception. It's harder to control the message.
I mean, $499.99 is oof. That is a big price tag, and literally all anyone can say about it.
Especially when there are no games.
Right. Nothing anyone. I mean, I want to play that Cuphead, but
that's why you would buy the $199.
Yeah. Anyway, maybe a disappointing E3 for everybody else,
but a great show for Nintendo.
Great show for Nintendo. Any closing thoughts on E3 for 2017, at least as far as Nintendo is represented, or anything else?
I was already looking forward to the holiday for Switch, but man, am I so pumped for Super Mario Odyssey.
Yeah, me too. God, it looks so cool.
And it's so close now.
Yeah, and I'm really, really excited for whatever the Breath of the Wild, the Champion Ballad pack is going to be. This first pack, whatever, fine, going to be cool.
Right,
I'll play it. I'll have a wonderful time.
But I'm paying the $20 for the Champion.
For that.
And, they've teased being able to play Zelda, play as Zelda in the past.
Yeah.
And this seems like the perfect opportunity to do that. Because I do not think you will play as Link, because I think it's going to be a prequel.
Man, that seems so big, right? Because presumably the world won't be in a state of ruin yet. Or I guess it could take place. We don't see any of the champions die in mild spoilers for Breath of the Wild. We don't see the champions die in Link's memories. So it's possible that like Link gets put to sleep before the kingdom really falls. And so maybe what we're playing out are the final moments of each of the champions would be super sweet.
It'll be really interesting to see.
Yeah, well, okay.
What a great show.
Yeah, and we'd love to hear your reactions too. So anything that you noticed that we didn't pick up on, or anything that you thought was inexcusably missing from this presentation, shoot us an email. We're Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter or tweet at us at NinCart Society. Facebook page is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Mark, you were on a podcast.
That's right. Last week I was on Trust the Bachelor Process from What's a Creative Podcast Network. It came out on Wednesday, and we were talking about last week's episode of The Bachelorette. It was a ton of fun. You should check that out.
It's a good episode, and you're very funny on it. I am on the Buffy the Vampire Slayer podcast Hellmouthy this week, discussing Once More with Feeling. Comes out on Thursday, I think. So if you like musicals or me, you can check out that episode. It's on the Nerdist School network. Olivia Duncan made our logo, and our music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. If you like 8-Bit Betty's music, you can check out his website or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Eller saying thanks for listening.
What's a Creative Podcast Network?